everybody. I just love it when two or more of my bead boxes collide and work together, and that's what's going on here today. So I'm working on two bracelets and a really cute pair of earrings. Look at this. Aren't they adorable? I made my own ear wires and used the little bales that were in the bargain bead box in the month of November, and the micro faceted gemstones, these glass pearls, these beautiful crystals were in there, and just made this really pretty little dangly earring. So we're going to do that. And then we have these really pretty connectors in the box, and I just love them, but I've turned mine horizontally, and instead of connecting on the two loops on the end, I'm connecting on the middle loops, and that gave me a place to put some little dangles. And the more I look at this, the more I think I'm going to go back and add more dangles to every one of those little holes. So it's just fringy and so pretty. So I'm going to show you how I did that. And then this bracelet, I have no idea what I'm doing, but this is my other bead box. This is the Adornable Elements 2-hole beads of the month club, and these half moon 2-hole beads were in that box in amethyst, and I absolutely think they're gorgeous. And so I want to do a bracelet in this style. It's one of my favorite ways to make a bracelet, and there are a couple of ways to do the closure on it, so don't laugh at me, you guys. Well, you can laugh, but I have this copper moon face shank button. It's a check glass button, and so the bargain bead box had copper and a lot of purples in it. So, and the Adornable Elements 2-hole bead was the half moon bead, so hence the moon face, haha. But I made this loop so he could go through there. But for the closure on this, the other possibility is this little check glass purple butterfly that could go on there. But this style of bracelet can also be done with just an extender chain. So I have a scrap of copper extender chain, and then on the other end you put a lobster claw clasp, and then it's an adjustable bracelet. So I don't actually know what I'm doing yet, but I just love it when my bead boxes go together like this. So maybe it'll be fun to kind of take you guys along on all the decisions and how I work out what I'm going to do. But I have several of those 2-hole half moon amethyst beads out here from that box, and possibly a third box is going to work in here because this was from my dollar bead box and bag in October. And I used mostly what was in the box, but I've gone back on the website and purchased the strands for $1, and they are just absolutely perfect with all of the purples and coppers. And so for this one, I feel like I need a really small bead to do this kind of funky double strand stringing. And that's determined by the space between the two holes on the 2-hole bead. So whatever beads I string here, I don't want them competing for space. And what I love about this style of bracelet is that negative space that you create. It's kind of lacy and you see through your design. I really love that. So I'm going to work on that with you guys. And just for your information, what I have out here that I'm working with, my little wire on my earrings is my Soft Flex craft wire in 28 gauge. You could also use 26 gauge. And I'm using the purple amethyst color of my Soft Flex 49 strand bead stringing wire for this. And I have just brought in some 11.0 Miyuki seed beads. Also for these little dangles, the little tiny gold that you see in here is a demi round. It's a type of seed bead that I just love. They're like little teeny tiny glass donuts in gold. Look how cool they are. They're just a little different profile than a regular seed bead because it's a little donut. It's a little tiny ring. I love them. It's one of my favorite things when I'm in a bead shop or on a website where they have demi rounds. I always pick up whatever colors, whatever they have. And it just adds something. I don't know what, but I love it. So that's how I created my dangles. So there's one of the little crystal mixes. I loved this mix from the bargain bead box. and I've just been using it, just the random mix, just grabbing it, whatever color came up next, to make all my little drops. And then I have a demi round, and then one of these really opaque teeny tiny faceted gemstones from the bargain bead box. So like all my boxes, these, at least these three, just really went well together. This is also, I can't remember if this was in the bargain bead box this month or not, you guys, the little pine cones, or if I ordered it from the website, but they have these in some other finishes as well. So I was thinking on my extender chain that that might be a really cute little final drop on my extender chain. So let's finish this bracelet first, because this one I've gotten quite a bit of it done, and I'm just loving the dangle on this. And I love how lacy it is. It's one of the things that I'm crazy about with filigree is you can turn it in different ways, and you can look at the openings in the filigree. And, you know, like this one really at first glance, you think it connects loop to loop in a vertical way. You know, you would think that you connect them in a vertical way that way, and you certainly could, but you can also turn it this way because you have this centered hole in the filigree. And these are so lacy and sweet. I just love them. So I'll show you the easy way that I make my simple loops, because I have done quite a few of them, but I have just a few more to do. So I'm just going to come right at the top of that little bead stack and put a bend in my wire, and then put my round nose plier down near the tip to make this loop really small, and then bring the wire over the top barrel. And then I'm going to rotate it out of my way. And so if this looks like the beginning of a wire wrapped loop, that's because that's the way that I do them too. Then I'm going to bring this around, and again, just like, you know, you would do a wire wrapped loop. And I like to get everything centered. Like at this point, I want that loop to be centered on my beads. And when I take my round nose plier away, the simple loop is basically formed. So from here, you could grab this loop and wrap it, you know, and create a wire wrapped loop, but I just did simple loops here. And the way I get my cut is to come inside the loop with the tip of my cutters, right where the two wires meet, and snip. And so that gives me a really cute, perfect little simple loop. And I'm going to open it, and I'm going to attach it to this link, the outer edge of this link. It's the outer edge now because of that I've connected mine, I think, kind of the opposite direction of the way they were supposed to go. And what I was thinking as I, you know, was connecting all of this is that I have space in this loop, and I really think that I'm going to add another little charm or dangle to both sides to just make this like the coolest dangly little copper bracelet. It's pretty that way, but why stop there, you know? So I had, what I had left of these was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it was 14 dangles, so I could easily create another 14. So let me go ahead and get these two done, and then I'll show you how I did my connecting component that's in the middle. So for the components, I'm using a piece of 20 gauge wire, and you could totally do simple loops either with your bail making plier or your round nose pliers, but I love my 1.5 millimeter one-step looper. This size is what I chose for this project. When I have a beaded chain to make, and in essence that's what this is, it really saves my hand, and my loops are effortlessly consistent. So I'm going to put the wire in past the back cutter. It makes a fresh blunt cut, so I can skip that step with my cutters. And now I just want to pull this wire down and smooth. It's pretty straight, but if it weren't, I could take my nylon jaw pliers and straighten it, and I can see that my loop is centered on the wire. So this is another easy way to get those simple loops in there. And then the component consists of, and like I said, just at random, I'm taking one of the rondelles, and I put a rondelle on, maybe if it will go on my wire, and then a demi round, and then one of these faceted English cut crystals, and then another demi round, and then another rondelle. And that was the little pattern for this component. And if you notice, I just keep my one-step looper in my hand. I'm just swinging it out of the way. So when you have a long length of simple looped components to make, it is a really fast, efficient, kind of a production way to get them done. So I'm just going to put my wire this time through the guide hole in the back, and I'm pushing my beads right up to the front jaw. I only have gentle pressure, like with this hand, just to hold it in place so that I can get it in position. And then when I close the tool, it makes the cut for me. If it wants to flip out of the tool, just don't let it. And it's making the loop, but I'm not centered because my component is going up in that direction. And so I'm going to gently pull this down as I'm closing here. And that centers the loop on the component and with the other loop, but it also keeps you from putting too much pressure on that crystal. And that component is done. And then if I had more to do, I would just keep the tool in my hand and keep going. So I really love my one-step looper for things like that. I mean, I make my simple loops several different ways, and depends on the project, but it is just a great tool. Okay, so I'm going to come to the middle loop, or the middle hole on this little filigree, and attach it to my simple loop and get in here and close it really well and work hard in it. A little bit of force, opening and closing your pliers, and then same thing on this side. And this will be my last component. Then I can check my length. And so what I have to decide is, do I just want to put a clasp on? Do I want to finish off my length with extender chain? Just have to make those design decisions now that I have my basic bracelet done. And I have to attach my last two charms. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be my last two. I think I'm going to love this bracelet with more baubles attached on the side of my design. I really like these lobster claws with this swivel feature. It makes putting your bracelets on really easy to do it by yourself, because it goes into the connector really easy when you have that feature there. And so I'm going to get from my jump ring assortment, I'm going to get a jump ring about this size for my lobster claw, and I'll use the same thing to add my extender chain, my embellishment on my extender chain. So I think for my second dangle, I'm going to do one of my O beads, one of the spacers, an O bead, and then an 11O seed bead. So that's going to be my dangle. And what I do when I have so many to make is just set them all up and do my little production, get through them that way. So just put the pattern on all of my head pins and lay them out, and then just start creating those simple loops. It's a pretty fast way to get them done, and 14 is not too many. And I'm going to continue just choosing those crystals at random and attaching them at random. I just loved the color mix. Okay, I'm just going to start making those simple loops. Okay, this is my last one, and I'm ready to connect. Okay, this is my last one, and I have to confess that as I was connecting, I was thinking if you wanted to really make this a cluster like a charm bracelet, I could come back and add one in this loop, this loop, this loop, and this loop. So I'd really have 6 dangles on every intersection of this bracelet. Oh my goodness, that's so fun. What a fantastic bracelet. It's lacy and dangly and coppery and golden. I just love it. Okay, I'm gonna I may revisit that and add more charms to this, but I love it. I think that is just such a fun, just wonderful design. Okay, let's get to this one since I have no idea what I'm doing. I have not even really, truly, I haven't decided on my closure, but I think what I'm going to do is leave my loop at this width here because if I choose to do either one of these shank button closures, I think it will work. You don't want it to, yeah, he goes through. And if I choose to get out more chain and do an extender chain and put a lobster claw clasp that can hook right onto this loop, I think that will work too. So I'm going to put my possibilities right there and concentrate on my stringing. And so I do think that I'm going to just dump a few of these crystals out here and just to have some things to play with in my stringing. Honestly, those may be a little bit too big. I'm just going to have to play a little bit. So let me see if I put one on one side and then seed beads on the other side, how that's going to work, if I even want to use those. And then I think I might also cut one of these strands from Dollar Bead. Like I said, I just love it when 2 or 3 or more bead boxes work together. Just gives you that many more design possibilities. And I review a lot of boxes on my channel for you guys every month, so you can see what's in them, kind of what their vibe is, what the cost is. So I do a lot of bead boxes, and when I can mix several together, I think because before YouTube I received 3 boxes a month, and so I think, you know, a lot of you get 2 or 3 from what I hear from the comments, so maybe it helps you to see how to mix them together. So even though that crystal is a little bit bigger, it's not competing for space if I do a seed bead on that side. So, and I really like that. I think that's really pretty. And I'm also going to mix in some of my demi rounds here too. So I think I will actually do that on either side of this crystal, a demi round, a crystal. So this is kind of a funky 2-strand bracelet design, and I'm going to work my way down the length of my bracelet, kind of stringing like that and just making those decisions about what would come next. Get them, you can either do them asymmetrical like I'm doing, or you can do them in a symmetrical way where you do both sides exactly the same. I think I'm going to stick with that, and let's cut these guys open. I love these opaque purple rice-shaped beads. They're just absolutely gorgeous. So I went back on Dollar Bead and ordered some more of those. So what I'm doing in my stringing is filling in my 2 lines until I get this even. The seed beads are great fillers for that. And then, you know, at intervals, I want to string on another one of the 2 whole half moon beads. It keeps everything lined up, and this is what really defines that negative space, those little windows in between the beads. So like this is my next little section of negative space. I think that is just so pretty. So I think I'm going to continue like that and get my length, just alternating the seed beads, the rice beads, the crystals, and these little faceted crystals as well. And when I get down here and get some length on, I have to make a decision about the clasp. My problem is I love everything. I love the butterfly. I love the little moon and his coppery color. I think he's got such a sweet, just a sweet face on that. And I love extender chains. So while I'm stringing, I will be thinking about what I'm going to do when I get to the other end. And so it will just be a second for you guys. Okay, I have all my stringing done. My little pattern is worked out. I ended up putting 6 of the 2-hole half moon amethyst, and I made my decision about my closure. It's going to be the little moon face, the little copper moon face guy. This is not crimped because I wanted to show you how I worked it out, and I put the crimp tube on and just pulled my wires through. I'll back it down and show you, but I did that so that I could put it around my wrist and also see how difficult it would be to clasp and also which way my face would be looking. So I wanted him facing toward the bracelet so that when this loops around, it's not crimped, so I'm going to be really careful to show you, but it's going to close like that. So his little face like sits amongst the leaves, and the bracelet is got that beautiful negative space. It's just an odd mix of crystals and rice beads and seed beads and demi rounds, and I just love the way that it turned out. So all I have to do is crimp it, but let me back it down and show you how I finished this off. So let me make sure I finished it off beads like that, where I'm just stringing the equal amount so that my button and my crimp tube will sit right in the middle of this final loop. So this is a really cool contemporary way to make a 2-hole or 2-strand bracelet, because your strands are not individual. They come to this end and loop around and come back up, and so you only need a single crimp tube as well for doing it this way. So once I have that the length that I want, I'm going to feed on my crimp tube onto one of my strands and also my button. So you could put a jump ring through here and put the jump ring over, but I really like the way the button sits right on the loop in heat, especially because it's a face facing my bracelet. So I'm just going to get my other strand going in the crimp tube in the opposite direction. And like I said, I cut mine a little bit short. I generally like to have a little bit more like working wire, but just as I told you when I started, I wasn't sure how I was actually going to finish this bracelet or string it really. So it was a little bit of a design on the fly. But I am thrilled with it, and I have this here ready to be crimped. I also made a little lantern shaped crystal dangle crystal. I put the crystals in, a couple of the crystals, and just again the gold and copper mixed. And I am going to use my not my one-step looper. I can't talk, you guys. I think I need to stop and have a food break. But I'm going to use my magical crimping plier, because these are 11-0 seed beads, and a number 2 crimp tube looks like an 11-0 seed bead when you use this tool. So I really like that in this application, because it will make this just feel like an infinity loop that's, you know, magically held together. So I don't want this to be too tight or rigid, but it's not quite the same as crimping a bracelet that's, you know, round. So I'm going to come in, and by nature this tool does sort of push the beads out a little bit when you fit it over the crimp tube, but I am going to give it, like before, I'm just holding light pressure here, and I am going to give it just a little bit of a tug before I crimp. So just to make sure that, you know, I don't have too much extra space. And I'm just going to close down on my crimp tube. And when I take it away, the tube is a little square with 4 pinched corners. And now I want to fit it in the tool again, squarely in the middle. I just felt it go in place, and it's in the opposite direction. Now I close in this direction, and just go around a few times. You can rotate your work or your tool, opening, closing, maintaining that spot, and it's turning the crimp tube into a little 11/0 size bead. So it looks like that when you take it away. It's just a fantastic way to crimp. You can really, you could do a fold over crimp. Honestly, you could probably even do a flat crimp here, but on a piece like this where there's only one crimp to, I don't know, I would be a little concerned about the strength of a flat crimp on this bracelet, but just going to get in here and snip as close as I can. And it is done. It is ready to wear except for my little dangle. So my moon face is on there, and I can put this on like this, and the moon face will be facing me when I wear the bracelet. I think this is so whimsical and sweet, and I love the negative space. And these 2-hole beads are just amazing. I mean, look at this. It's so pretty. I got my length just right, and I just love alternating all the crystals and the demi rounds and the rice beads, like all the different shades of purple, copper, and gold. Wow, wow, wow. I think this is such a great bracelet. Okay, let me take it off, stop playing with it, and let's go back to my jump ring assortment. And I'm just going to choose size that will go over my seed beads, so this should be good. I will put a link for this in the description box. Actually, I think it's already there if you open the description box and go to my current favorite findings. I recently found this, and they're supposed to be anti-tarnish. I haven't had it long enough to testify to that, but all the sizes from teeny tiny, and it even came with gold-plated lobster claw clasp. So it's such a good little set. But I'm just going to open the jump ring, and I'm going to put it, I am going to put it on this side so that when I'm clasping my bracelet, that it won't be in the way on this loop. So I'm going to open that jump ring, go through my little dangle, and just put it right in there. Okay, the second beautiful bracelet is done. How cute is that? I just love it. It's elegant, but it has that little bit of whimsy too. It's just so sweet. And I have plenty of the little rondelle mix, so if I do want to go back to my dangly copper bracelet and add more little charms, I have the beads left over to do that. But let's make this super cute earring. Look at this, you guys. Isn't that the sweetest thing? I love turning findings in different directions and doing a little bit different things with them. So I have my fine gauge wire here. I think this is 28. I already cut it off the spool, but I think you could use 26. The reason I went to 28 was really just to accommodate these really tiny little crystals, but you could do the same design with the same crystals that were used here, you know, whatever you prefer. And I used a ball head pin. I just ordered these from the sister website to Bargain Bead Box. If you're new to the situation with that, Bargain Bead Box is the monthly subscription, and it's one of the best values literally that I have ever found for jewelry makers. And when you get that subscription, on your insert in the box, there is a special code for 30% off of your order on their sister website, Bead Box Bargains. And that's where I got my head pin and extra findings. I find amazing things. It's a really wonderful website. And that code is good as many times as you want to use it, all month, over and over. So it's like getting wholesale prices on beads and findings without having a resale license. So it's just a really great deal. And if I didn't mention earlier on in my filming, I have a discount code for Bargain Bead Box, and you can use my link and my code to access the website. So I'm just going to make my little drop here made here. I took one of the glass pearls from the box. That mulberry color is amazing, and I have these little filigree bead caps in my stash, but the Bead Box Bargains always has great bead caps. I find a lot of really cool ones there. A crystal and an 8/0 seed bead, and I'm going to do a simple loop here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and attach this simple loop, this dangle, to the bail. These little copper bails were in the box, and I'm going to attach it to the loop on the bail and get that done, closed really well and work hardened. And then I'm going to take this bail and thread it onto my fine gauge wire and let it drop down to the middle, just like that. And now I am going to string the little pattern that I did on the earring. So it's 3 of those gemstones and an 11-0 seed bead, 3 and 11-0, 3. And I'm going to do the same thing on both sides. So let me just dump everything out here. It's easier to pick up beads from the mat. And I made my own ear wires. I've been doing that a lot. So if you watch any of my other earring videos, you'll see how easy it is to make your own ear wires. So let me get this strung. Same pattern on both sides. Okay, so it looks like that. And now I am just going to, I put my thumb and my finger over the intersection so that I can pull this into a round without kinking it. And I don't worry about my shape at this point because I know that I can come back in and adjust the shape to match my first earring, but I do want to get it tight. So I'm just going to get a hold of it and just try to get a little twist in there. Just holding it with my finger and get a little twist in there. This fine wire, sometimes it's even easier to grab it with your pliers and push everything down and get a little twist with your pliers. If you're using the 28 like I am, be careful on this twisting because you can break this wire pretty easily. But once I have it secure like that, and I'll fiddle with the shape after I'm done, but I just have this started and I'm going to put my nylon jaw pliers over the 2 wires and I am going to continue to twist. Just light pressure on my wire, like light pressure here, and I'm going to twist and I'm kind of pulling at the same time. So I'm turning these 2 very fine wires into one wire that's got some texture, and from there I'm going to put a wrapped loop. Okay, so it's looking like that, and I'm going to hold it this way and treat this just like a regular wire wrapped loop. I'm going to get a hold of the top of it, push everything down, put a 90-degree bend in it, and because it's such fine gauge wire, I'm going to wrap down to my beads and then wrap back up and just kind of use up this length. Let me show you this one. So it's kind of a messy wrap, but it makes that fine gauge wire chunky enough to be substantial for the top of an earring. If that makes sense. So I'm going to bring the twisted wire over the top, rotate my pliers, bring it around just like a normal wire wrapped loop, and just get everything centered and ready to wrap. So my loop is in there, and now I'm just going to get a hold of this and wrap down, get straight here, wrap down to my beads and just substantiate this super fine gauge wire. And see, I'm going to wrap back up toward my loop and then back down again. I'm just using up the wire that I have here. Okay, and now you guys that have watched me work before, you know that I'm going to trim this off in the back of the earring, and how I know that it's the back is because I'm kind of a stickler about my loop. So the opening of my simple loop is back here, so that will be the back of this earring. And I just want to do like I would with any wire, is just tuck it, make sure it's tucked, and it's ready to pop onto my ear wire. Look at that, it's so pretty. To me, this is just the right length. It's not too big of an earring, but it's dangly, it's colorful. It goes from that beautiful mulberry into this really bright purple and this soft, dusty lavender, like all those purples, copper and gold. They're all just so warm and delicious, those berry tones. So like I said, I just love it that all my bead boxes collided. And you guys, I have discount codes for all three of these companies. Dollar Bead box and bag I review every month. I have a discount code for receiving that box monthly or signing up for their annual membership. You can use the code for that. Bargain Bead Box, I have a discount code, as well as Adornable Elements. I rotate all the clubs that they do. So these 2 hole beads are from their 2 hole beads of the month club, but they have seed beads of the month, gemstones of the month. They have like 6 different ones. So you can choose just one club to receive every month or rotate and get a surprise in the mail every month like I do. So check the description box for links for all of those bead box companies and anything else that I've brought in, my jump ring assortment, anything else that I know where I got it. If I can link it, I always take the time to put that in the description box. I thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody's warm and well, and I'll see you guys in the next video.